right, it's Betting Weekly Tennis Live. It's Mitch Michals. It's Tim Dennis. It's all part of the Bet Rivers Network. The final show of the year, Tim. This is going to be an exciting, interesting time, but all part of the Bet Rivers Network. Make sure you download the app. Make sure you get in on the action. The social channels are at Because We Win. The X account, Instagram, and YouTube. Tim Dennis, ATP Finals. We got group play. We've got a lot of chaos, but exciting to break down the matches that we have.
Yeah, hi Mitch. Yeah, nice to see. Excited for these finals. They've started well so far, and a couple of quick short set matches to start the tournaments. But I think the last three have all gone the distance. So whether Sinner and Zverev can follow that tradition tonight, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's just starting to hot up now with loads of variables to talk about.
So I'm looking at it a couple different ways, as we have so much, as I mentioned, to get to. There's just tennis all across the grounds of Turin. But we talked about it from the group play yesterday, right? With Musetti winning that epic match in Minaur, an impossible cover in a lot of ways for that 2.5 game spread, but to win the match and just find a way through and to put chaos into that group. There is the scenario tomorrow where even Alcaraz at 2-0 isn't officially in yet. So we talk about round robin being differently, and when you bet on certain things, it's a little weird to know that a loss doesn't knock a player out. But that Jimmy Connors group is just chaos so far.
Yeah, I mean, Musetti, a bit of a Superman performance yesterday. I mean, what's he going to be like with a day off? He could be fit and fresh tomorrow, couldn't he? With a day off today under his belt. So yeah, Alcaraz might have to look out. But I think a lot of people, including myself, got stung with Musetti and Minaur yesterday. But yeah, an incredible performance, and the guy just seems to have endless amounts of energy. So I'm not too sure. I'm too quick to rule him out tomorrow with a day's rest under his belt. But yeah, Alcaraz will have other ideas.
Gosh, it was really magical, as our commenter says. There's just so much going on. Yeah, it's been crazy, right? We didn't think he had much left. Even Felix today beating Ben Shelton in the morning match. You wondered how he was going to be after the center match. Great first set played until the very end. Grabs his leg, is a calf size issue. He's right there with Shelton early, and then wins an epic tiebreak, and then wins a 7-5 third set. So the cardio questions were answered, and having the day off certainly helped. But for Felix and maybe Tim, it's a comfortability factor, right? He's been here before and has won a couple matches, which Shelton and certainly de Minaur can't say. But I was surprised, as I'm sure you were, that Felix was able to pull that one out.
Yeah, great effort for Felix. He's obviously got a tremendous record indoors, hasn't he? Certainly his probably favoured conditions. And I think I read a report somewhere saying that obviously the day off helped. And when he was warming up in the morning of today, I think he said he felt fine and was serving properly. So there was obviously a question mark about when under match pressure, whether it might sort of flare up again, but it clearly didn't. And he was moving well from the off. And obviously he had that chance to he got the break back at the pivotal time in that first set, but then it was immediately broken to lose the 6-4. And there was a time where you probably could have been questioned for thinking, okay, well maybe that's him done now. But yeah, full credit to him for digging in, winning that second set tiebreak, and being the stronger player in the third set.
So we got Sinner playing Zverev tonight in about an hour and a half. We're going to get to that match momentarily, and then we got the matches tomorrow. And I believe still there's scenarios where there's no clinching if Sinner wins. I'm not entirely sure about that, but it's pretty chaotic that there would be scenarios where all the matches matter. And if you even look at how it's been priced, I mean, Sinner was the overwhelming favorite going into this day, going into this tournament. That doesn't surprise us, Tim. I think that Sinner, maybe the number of minus money given Alcaraz in the field, is that shocking that he was upwards of minus 170, 175, probably going to be minus 200 soon?
Yeah, I thought probably maybe just slightly short, but I think that probably comes from Alcaraz's sort of record after the US Open and indoors. It's certainly a rung or two below on the ladder compared to Sinner's. Plus, with it being in his backyard, home fans, big support, I think maybe that sort of swayed the market a little bit as well. But I think if somebody sort of said to you, right, you've got to choose one, I think it is going to be Sinner just because of his indoor record as opposed to Alcaraz's.
Yeah, I think the Fritz match too. It's always a tough task for anyone, especially playing indoor against Taylor Fritz when he's serving well. That match was tricky. I think Alcaraz obviously dug deep, figured it out. What's that, 50 top 10 wins for him already in his young career? But that wasn't a lack of form. That was Fritz playing a pretty good match all around. And I think as tough as it's going to be, that match is probably going to be the one, Tim, that clinches the year-end number one from him. I mean, tomorrow we'll do it, but when we look back, if he would have lost that match, could have played out a lot differently. But winning that is probably going to be the difference maker in year-end number one for Alcaraz over Sinner.
Yeah, it looks that way. I wanted to ask you about Fritz. So do you think that was a slight sort of mental block that stopped him winning that match yesterday? Because he was magnificent in set one, and then obviously had his chances there, the odd sort of break point of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more, it's so hard to sustain a level against those two. So you wonder if it was a mental block or if how he played in set one is just not sustainable when you're playing the very best. The one thing, and I saw on the Tennis Channel show, Jim Courier talking about it with the data, like Fritz right now is deciding that he doesn't have to go bigger on his second serve, and that might be a miscalculation. It's so hard at this level to decide, do you go bigger, risk double faults, risk not hitting your spots, but there's maybe little things he can do. I don't know. Beating Alcaraz when he's firing is tough to do. But yeah, maybe Fritz going forward needs to just be ultra aggressive against the top two. I don't know. It's a tough one to say the least.
Yeah, I did see a few quotes from Fritz there talking about his serves, and he made a really great point about when these guys are standing way back, that then no matter how they hit the ball, they're not going to do anything with it because they're so far back. So he can pretty much just take the speed off that second serve and roll it into the court rather than having to be too aggressive. And he clearly thinks about the game a lot, Fritz. And I still think he's improving. And I think for me, bar the top two, I think he's sort of almost a bit of a standout. Obviously, maybe I'd probably even put him ahead of Zverev, to be honest, in my pecking order. I think he's I think he's the guy going places out of the other two.
Well, he's beaten Zverev like every time he's played him in the last couple of years, so I think that's fair to say. And yeah, I mean, the decision making, like he comes to the net off of these approach shots, as Jean Sport 47 says. I think it's fair. I think he does get a little indecisive, but that's understood against these top players. It's tough when your A game, which beats so many people, can't beat the very best. So we shall see. Semifinals are looking good. Let's get into that match tonight, though, Tim. We've got an interesting one. Jannik Sinner, Alex Zverev, third time they've played in a handful of weeks. One match was really close. That would be the Vienna final. One match was not close at all. The Paris semifinals. Both were won by Jannik Sinner. He enters the hometown hero as a minus 910 favorite. So not any value on him on the money line. But looking at those spread bets, 4.5 on the spread for Sinner, 20.5 over under. You see some set bettings too. Man, a lot of interesting plays here, and even maybe a play that's not on the board. But looking at this, Tim, how do we feel about Zverev and his ability to maybe make this match competitive against Jannik Sinner?
Yeah, well, Zverev, he's caused Sinner sort of regular problems in their sort of matches, isn't he? I think he's only down 5-4 in the head-to-head. I think obviously he lost that match in Paris comfortably, but I think he was clearly injured with an ankle issue that day, and I think if that hadn't have been a final, I don't think he would even took to the court. So I think you can really put a line through that match. Conditions here really suit Zverev, don't they? His victory over Shelton on Sunday, I think he served 81% first serves in and winning 84% of those points and 70% of second serve points. Obviously, the level's going to rise here a little bit against Sinner, but Sinner didn't face a break point in his match. And I think he's only dropped his serve twice in 6 matches here in Turin. So clearly goes really well here. And I think conditions be a lot quicker here than they were in that close match they played in Vienna. And that should suit Zverev. So I think from a sort of a betting point of view, my sort of angle leaning into this was over 10.5 games in set one was plus 220 with Bet Rivers. And that looked pretty good to me because, like I said, I think you can put a line through the Paris match. And if you look at that Vienna match on a slightly slower court, those 3 sets were all super close, even though a tiebreak wasn't played. But obviously, we don't need a tiebreak here going with this bet. And I think the conditions and the way Zverev's serving at the moment should a little bit like, I mean, Felix, like you guys well know, he should have gone to a first set tiebreak, shouldn't it? So I think a tiebreak is a big price as well. But yeah, I like the over 10.5 at plus 220.
They've played a lot of physical long sets, first sets, looking at their head-to-head. I mean, other than that match, it's funny. That is the outlier of their head-to-head. It's just, Zverev was injured. So, yeah, physical. He's won this event as Zverev 2 times in London, obviously, but it's a little different. if he's serving well, can he dig into this match? We've seen patterns of Sinner playing a long first set, maybe a quick second set along the way. So I like it. And that's, and not to spoil a bit, but that's like one of our daily double. We're going out with a bang on the last show of the year. So swinging for the fences.
Yeah, I think we're going to do one each this time, aren't we? Last show of the year. So
Yeah.
well, like you say, we're going to go for try and tie in a big price double. And I think I've got that first pick, and I think your second pick's coming a bit later on.
Yeah, and I wonder too. I mean, it's the Italy factor is going to make a difference, because I could have seen a scenario, and we'll see what happens getting to Alcaraz, where, Sinner might be a little deflated. Alcaraz winning that match against Fritz, because the number one's probably out of reach. All Alcaraz has to do is beat Musetti, or if he loses against Musetti, gets to the semis. If he wins one more match, then he gets number one too. So just getting one more will notch that year-end number one. But Jannik's not going to want to embarrass himself or come up short with the home crowd. I do think that this matchup, though, has been one that Sinner's had to work a little harder in general. And I like the approach of a first set digging in. Eventually, though, I do think Sinner wears him down. I would prefer your bet over 3 sets, because even that's been a tough task against Jannik, is forcing a third. He's just been money when he needs to down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think I did briefly look at that 4.5 there, but I think it was a similar situation. I think with the Fritz 3.5 yesterday, and let's say Zverev does go and take that first set tiebreak, let's say 7-6, and then obviously he's 5.5 in front then. But if Sinner then goes and wins 3-3 in the next 2 sets, you end up losing your money, a bit like Fritz did the other day. He was a 3.5, took that first set tiebreak 4.5, and now because obviously went and covered it, winning the next 2 sets. So yeah. I think I'd rather go with it with a tight first set, and maybe looking at it, maybe over 20.5 is probably another way of looking at it. I thought that was obviously, if you get that first set tiebreak in, and he's only going to need to win 2 games in the second set, which you'd imagine he'll do more often than not. So yeah, I think I'd be getting with Zverev somewhere here, but I thought the best way to do it at a nice price was a tight first set.
Yeah, this is it for Sinner not playing Davis Cup. I saw the reports that Musetti was probably going to be out as well, given what he's been through. So Italy feeling it there. So that's like one of this one. I think live window too. You could see what happens if Zverev jumps ahead early. It would probably take a lot, but I don't know. I think the live over under that 20.5 games, Tim, that might be one to monitor depending on how the first set goes. And one I would recommend people watch the match, not just look at scores, see how it's going, and see if you think this really could be a heavy match as that live over under adjusts.
Yeah, I think you did. There's certainly a match you want to be watching if you're having a bet on, because we don't want to see Zverev being sort of too passive as we can see him often being. If he's serving well and that forehand's working well, and he can cause Sinner problems like he did in Vienna, which I sincerely expect him to do here. So yeah, if you are having a bet in play, you certainly want to be watching rather than just looking at live scores, I think.
There was something else too I wanted to mention before we get out. It's the race for number 5 in the world. Really, depending, it could be number 4 with Djokovic and you have Zverev, but it looks like they're going to be there. But there's a lot of players that are just right on the cusp with like Fritz, Felix, Musetti, Shelton, de Minaur. Like they're all just right there. Depending on what happens, just winning one more match, getting to the semis, and what that could mean. So I think it's probably going to be Fritz, but yeah, it's just pretty wide open, to say the least. We all talk about the top 2. There's a core top 8, top 10 in the world, but they are just right neck and neck with each other, Tim, and it doesn't take much to separate them.
Yeah, like you say, there's a few players vying for that spot, aren't there? And obviously he's not going to be vying for it, but sort of Jack Draper's sort of into the mix. I think he was up to number 4 in the world at one stage this season, wasn't he? So he'll be a player you'd like to think come into that sort of talking point next year as well in that position. But I think Fritz is probably, like you say, probably favourite to finish that, and I think he probably deserves it the year he's had to. I think, for me, I'd like to see him get that spot.
Well, let's look at some of the matches, the 2 matches tomorrow, the Jimmy Connors group here on Betting Weekly Tennis Live. Mitch, Michals, Tim Dennis, the final show of the year. We've got ATP finals action in Turin, trying to see who the semifinalists will be. We will know at the end of the day. A lot of scenarios here, and I want to just run through them quickly. If Alcaraz beats Musetti and Fritz beats de Minaur, it's 1-2 finish there. But if Musetti and de Minaur both win, it'll be Musetti winning the group, ironically, and Alcaraz as the number 2. So Alcaraz has basically to win a set, and he's in, essentially, like is my understanding of this situation. And I want to pull that graphic up now for the match, because he's a -715 favorite. It's the second match on tomorrow. Musetti's +500. You wonder what he's got in the tank, and you wonder what the crowd can do for him here. But I wonder too. I mean, we're going to see Fritz, and we'll get to that match, Fritz and de Minaur first. But if that's going to have a factor in him, if Fritz defeats de Minaur, how that can impact the group and knowing certain things. But Tim, I look at this just as a head-to-head. Alcaraz has owned this match when Musetti's been healthy. Got to wonder what Musetti has left in the tank, given he's going against the buzzsaw that is Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah, you do. But I definitely asked myself this question last night, and I ended up getting it wrong because, I mean, to come back in that third set was quite incredible. And obviously he's had a day off since, so perhaps I don't think a day off's going to make a huge bit of difference to him, but it's certainly not going to hurt. And we just saw how he was buoyed on by that sort of vociferous crowd yesterday. They sort of really got him over the line, I think, in the end, didn't they? Perhaps Alcaraz isn't going to be as generous as de Minaur was. I don't think he looked a little bit, just didn't have the weapons to sort of cause him to sort of hit through Musetti there yesterday. A lot of defensive sort of slice backhands from Musetti. You think Alcaraz will probably take advantage of that tomorrow, especially with him being, you'd like to think, a little bit fatigued as well. But yeah, I don't think I was the only one that was surprised at him coming through there against de Minaur yesterday. I thought as soon as he got broke in that third set, that was it, game over. But yeah, he had other ideas, so full credit to him.
Yeah, 2-0 on this set bet is minus 220. And just looking at it, like, the fact is, if de Minaur wins early, which would be a shocking upset too, then Alcaraz already clinches. So you do wonder certain things, right? Like how this could all play out. But Alcaraz isn't going to pack it in. I don't know. I think all good stories, Tim, all good fairy tales run to an end. And this seems like it's going to be it for Musetti. I could be way wrong, but Alcaraz showed a lot in figuring a way out against Fritz yesterday. But maybe we'll see. I mean, Musetti has been able to redline. I would say if you're going to look at Musetti, look at the first set and finding a way, because even in their matches, right, Musetti just against Sinner too, right? He just plays ridiculously high, and then just like his body self-destructs, and a lot of times he retires as the match goes on. So maybe it's a first set kitchen sink bet or something.
Yeah, I mean, it could be because I think he was obviously in a similar position yesterday with de Minaur. He obviously knows he's fatigued and hasn't got a huge amount left, so he is going for his shots, and he was hitting some sort of wondrous sort of single-handed strong topspin as well, backhands, real flatliners, and he was aggressive on that forehand yesterday, and he was fantastic in that first set. And you'd imagine he's probably going to do the same tomorrow. He's just going to come out and swing freely and go for it. And if it comes off, you're going to be rewarded with a nice plus money bet there. And if obviously chances are it might not go wrong, but he's going to give you that chance of playing elite level tennis for the first set. There's no doubt. So that would probably be a good way of going if you did want to get with Musetti, I think.
3 matches, all on clay. Alcaraz won all 3 this year, but in 2 of them, Musetti won the first set. In the Roland Garros, Musetti retired, and in Monte Carlo, he lost 6-1, 6-0, the final 2 sets. So make with that what you will. But Alcaraz looks like he's a bet to make the semifinals. No surprise there. But the first match of the day, a lot of implications on that one. Taylor Fritz taking on Alex de Minaur. 5-5 head-to-head between these two. But it's been Fritz who's won the last couple of them. Haven't played since last year, Davis Cup. They also played in the ATP finals, both won by Taylor Fritz. He's minus 235, plus 188 on the money line for de Minaur. The spread 3.5, the over under 22.5. You see some set betting, you see some opportunities there. You also wonder 2 things, Tim. How is the scar tissue going to affect de Minaur? He looked and sounded like in the press after a pretty broken man, given what had happened. Said, I have to find a way to win these matches. If I'm going to be taken seriously, this is unacceptable to keep losing matches like this. I respect transparency, but I wouldn't feel great about his head space going into this match against a bona fide top 5 player in Taylor Fritz.
Yeah, I think he would have replayed that serving for the match game out in his head a few times before he went to sleep last night. He had that, I think he was 30-15 up, and he had a drive forehand to the backhand side, came in and just hit a really weak volley back to Musetti, and Musetti passed him and then went on to win the game, obviously, and the match. And I think, yeah, he'd have replayed that over a few times. And knowing he probably should have won that match yesterday, serving for the match, and obviously against a difficult crowd, but still, you know, he's played all around the country, all around the world many times. He's well used to dealing with stuff like that. So yeah, he should be winning spots like that. And like you say, transparency, you've got to credit him for that, for saying it, but I think you've got to take that look. And Fritz, I think he's probably going to have more in the tank here tomorrow, and a bit more to play for, isn't he? We spoke about that sort of number 4 spot. Yep. And he's got a chance of getting through this group too. And I think that plus money on straight sets looks a pretty good go. I think he's had the better of the last 2 head-to-heads. like you say, in the finals here last year, and in Davis Cup where he was dominant. And I was really impressed with Fritz, not only against Alcaraz but also against I think it was Musetti, wasn't it, in his first match? And was it Musetti? Sorry if I got that mixed up.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
was it was Musetti.
It was Musetti. Yeah, I was really impressed with him there, and I think that plus man on straight sets on this sort of last game of the group is a good way to look at it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you read my mind. That's going to be leg 2 of the daily double. So we'll flash the screen graphic now. We're going big, plus 578 on this one. So you have Sinner Zverev over in the first set in their match coming up, and then Fritz to win in 2 sets, straight sets, plus 578. You get plus money on that as well. I just think, I mean, the other thing is Fritz is priced pretty high to win the first set, Tim, minus 200. I think that's a scenario. And then I think we're going to get to a point where the mental and physical, right? Because it's not just mental. Minaur was out there, battling both guys, dropping on the floor on the same shot type stuff against Musetti. It's going to be tough to dig in and try to find a way when you're 0-2 this year, when you're 0-3 last year. And I just think Fritz playing downhill, it's a different type of player to play against. So yeah, I'm with you there. I think Fritz wins. I think we get, I mean, it sounds like it's trending towards chalk, but I think there could be some chaos because if Sinner beats Zverev today, then we get Zverev versus Felix for the final spot. So we'll have a pretty straightforward draw, but some interesting developments here.
Yeah, exactly. Still a little bit to play for, and with Felix getting that victory today, he's sort of thrown a bit of a spanner in the works there, hasn't he? And obviously he's got this great indoor record. So yeah, a little bit still to play for those kind of players. But yeah, De Minaur, like you say, with your bet there, probably not one of them. So yeah, I like that 2-0 that you've put up there. I think we're definitely going with that.
When you're in, just a question, Tim, when you're looking at this, and if you're maybe sprinkling a little bit, if you've had a good day, are you ever dabbling on the, because Bet Rivers has all the options, the exact set score? Does that ever just float your boat a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, occasionally, sort of in play, do you mean, or do you sort of mean beforehand?
I guess beforehand, when you see just insane payouts. And I'm not, obviously, we say bet responsibly, but, if you're looking at Fritz and you say, oh, I'm thinking maybe a 6-4 set here or something like that, might be worth just a dash of something.
Yeah, yes, potentially. I think you always need to sort of pay attention to who's serving first in these kind of, obviously, the coin toss, and I think you get about 5 minutes to get your bets on there, and that's sort of a little bit of a short window. But obviously, let's say Zverev serves first tonight and Sinner chooses to receive, then one breaker service, obviously 6-3, or, I mean, it could be 6-4, but then he's obviously going to have to break him in the exact game of 5-4 to land that 6-4 bet, whereas obviously a single break would be 6-3, and that could come in whether it be the first game of the match or it could come in the fourth game of the match. So you just have to be careful with who's serving first when you're doing those set bets, I think.
The live betting too, I mean, especially when you see a player that holds after saving a bunch of break points, you want to bet them to break next. We've talked to yourself, Nigel, and Dustin on this show, Rory too, but the other side of it is with these great players, right? The spot is to bet them to break when they're up 6-5 on serve. Like that's the spot, like the pre-tie break. Call it the Sampras break, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, look at Auger-Aliassime today. Shelton come in to serve to get to a tiebreak, third set tiebreak to stay in the match, and Auger-Aliassime goes and breaks him at that sort of poignant times. Same with Sinner in the first match against Auger-Aliassime in that first set. 5-6.
Don't remind us.
I'm afraid I didn't mean to bring it up again, Mitch. Sorry about that. But yeah,
30 love.
You just know in these sort of elite level players, they sort of they take their moments there, and the other guys just tend to perhaps just freeze that fraction, and all of a sudden the service games that were easy when the scoreline gets tight, that they seem to get tight too.
Yeah, and I'm doing some thoughts on this as well, right? Because you have these scenarios where you want players to get in and you're playing the scoreline, you're playing the round robin thing. This is a unique time in terms of live betting too, because like we were talking about, Tim, you don't know where the headspace is because they're playing the tiebreaker situation. So I think Fritz straight sets, one of the reasons is he has to leave it out of the hands of the judges. A win in 3 could still leave some stuff up for grabs. So that's where round robin, just such a different format when you come in not knowing that if a win's enough.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to, a bit like you say with the judges in boxing, you don't want to sort of leave it up to them. And Fritz will be well aware of that going into tomorrow, and he'll have seen what De Minaur's press conference said yesterday. He'll have seen he was a bit down. He'll obviously know he's a little bit fatigued as well. and he'll be looking to take full advantage of that. Yeah, he's not stupid, and he'll know exactly what he needs to do going forward tomorrow. And 2-0 for that reason is, I think, a good play, and that's why we've gone with it, I hope.
I hope so too. Plus 578. There it is. A final daily double on the year. Well, you're looking at it. You think it'll be just chalk? You think we'll get the big two and then Fritz and Zverev, or you see some chaos in the semifinalists?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, we've Felix. He's got this great indoor record, doesn't he? And obviously, if that calf isn't an issue going forward, then I think you've got to give him a shout. Really, I don't think it'll be maybe quite as obvious as everyone thinks.
Yeah.
He'll be buoyed by that victory today, and if his body does hold up, yes, that's a little bit of a question mark. He could be a bit of a dark runner going there, and I don't think anybody's. I think like we saw with the Sinner first set, I don't think anybody would be mad keen to play him because we're sure the level that he could play at. And again, sorry to bring it up another time, but that should have been 40 love and 6-all tiebreak. And let's say, who knows, if he doesn't have the car shift and he nicks that first set tiebreak, then things could be different. So I don't think anybody would be keen to face him.
He played 3 out of 4 sets against Sinner that were really good. It was just, and the last one was injured. So and beat Zverev at the U.S. Open. So I don't know how that. I mean, you expect Zverev to be a favorite, slightly, and then depending on it, I think there's a way to back Felix if you're going to take him, depending on what the set market is, over in the first set, over total games, or just to go 3. I'm with you. I don't. We have to see how it goes and what the word is, but I would be confident backing Felix in some way on Friday when they play.
Yeah, and see how Zverev goes tonight and how he's holding up. Obviously, he's had that injury in Paris. He looks fine start of the week here, and hopefully he's fine going forward. But yeah, certainly do keep an eye on how these players are still moving and even the markets, because sometimes the market's drifting but good money for a player can sort of tell you how they physically are without them actually telling you, if that makes sense. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on all the Bet Rivers markets for updates on that.
Do you have an ATP Finals pick, lean? I mean, Sinner's big money favorite. Did you go Alcaraz or somebody else, or just ride with the Italian hero?
There's a question. Yeah, I think if somebody says, right, you have to choose one for your life, it's going to be Sinner, isn't it? I mean, nobody's going to get rich backing him, but he does look the dominant player on home turf with that partisan crowd behind him. He's got a lot going for him, doesn't he?
He does. I think there's value in taking Alcaraz against Sinner, depending on if it's plus money, just regardless. I just think that there's, given the head-to-head and the psyche thing, Sinner's been open about it. This guy's had my number this year. So not saying I would pick him outright, but I think there's value in making a small wager on Alcaraz at plus money against anyone, even Jannik Sinner.
Yeah, I think, like you say, if you plus money, you think Alcaraz is a bit of value, then don't let me stop you, because he's obviously a phenom, and like you said, he's had his number this year, isn't he? Bar Wimbledon.
Well, I want to leave everyone with this. The last show of the year, Tim. It's going to be a couple, a little over, not even really 2 months. We're going to be back before you know it. This offseason's just crazy. We're going to be back actually before the calendar turns, because that's when the season's going to start already. So, looking at that, we got Australia coming up. Are there players that we think might be here next year on the ATP side, players that could be on the watch list to be ATP finalists in 2026, starting with good runs in Australia?
Yeah, well, I guess the guy that just missed out this year, Bublik, perhaps he'll have half an eye on. He's obviously been there as an alternate this week. He's probably seen what it's all about, whether that sort of inspired him to think, okay, I want to take another step up because I want to be here next year in my own right without having to worry about being an alternate. He could be one to look at. Obviously, we spoke about him very briefly earlier. Jack Draper obviously missed this through injury. Had a great season up until he had that injury, but whether his body can hold up, who knows? But he's another year under his belt on tour. He should be taking a step up, and maybe these guys could be replacing. I don't know. I've been a little bit disappointed with Ben Shelton this week. I don't know about you, but whether he's still feeling that shoulder a bit, it does look like that in his serves to me. I mean, he's got that bomb serve, but he looks to me like he's trying to get his first serve in rather than be overly aggressive. And maybe some people will be looking at trying to steal his place next year.
Will the young guys make their move next year? Will we see a Fonseca? I mean, obviously Draper's established. Want to see him healthy. Jakub Mensik. Will we see some players level up and some familiar faces? Maybe if Medvedev or Rublev, or if Holger Rune can stay healthy. contesting the back end is going to be very, very big. So, and we'll see if the years, and I wish Bubik the best, but got to back up a season now. So it's tough. It's
Yeah,
tough.
exactly. Another name that we've almost forgotten about, Artur Fils. He was doing pretty well till he got injured. He could be on the comeback trail. He looks a real young another up and coming player, like you said. Obviously, Leon Etienne winning his first tournament there last week. Another guy that might step forward again, up to 30 in the world now. Can he make that next step to sort of top 15, top 10?
Hey, and Australian Open early odds, right? You got Rybakina plus 600, Anisimova plus 700. Those are the two that seems like it's pretty good value given how they finished the year.
Yeah, Rybakina, she's just a player for my sins. I've troubled to get right many times. I think I've said many times. I think when she's on her highest level is higher than anybody's. But maybe next year could be her year. Obviously, she's settled now with the coaching situation. She's got a team that she trusts again now. There doesn't seem to be any issues there going forward. So if she is going to have a settled year, she could have a big one and go and win some slams. I mean, when I look at her winning those hard court slams, the Australian Open at Wimbledon would be my two for her, I think. But yeah, like I said, I'm one of her biggest fans, and I think on her day, as we saw in Saudi last week, her highest level is so high.
And we have a plus 110 odds for a Sinner Alcaraz final. That's how much ahead of the game they are right now. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Alcaraz going for the career slam in Australia. So as is Iga. So big opportunities there when we get down to Melbourne at the start of the year. But Tim, this has been a blast. As always, want to flash that graphic one more time. Our final daily double of the year, and we're going big. Sinner Zverev match starting in a little over an hour, over 10.5 games in set one. And then tomorrow's first on match, 8 a.m. Eastern time in the States. Fritz versus Minaur. Fritz in straight sets. That pays plus 578 on Bet Rivers. Get in on the action and bet fast. And make sure you have that app and download it so you can make all your bets on tennis and all the other sports as well. Tim, it was fun all year. Really appreciate talking tennis. And yeah, it was a pleasure as always.
Yeah, brilliant, Mitch. Yeah, I loved every minute. And yeah, like we said, we'll look forward to next year. And yeah, it'll be here before you know it.
I want to thank everyone who was a part of this show, our producers, John and Troy, everybody behind the scenes, Nigel, Seeley. I want to thank him for bringing myself and others into this world, Tim, Dennis, Dustin, Fox, and everybody that I was able to talk with on this show. Betting Weekly Tennis Live was 1 o'clock Eastern time, all Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, all of them through the season. It was a fun year. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you were able to learn a little bit of something or, tail me in certain situations too, but also fade me as well. But for Tim Dennis, I'm Mitch Michals. This was such a blast. Betting Weekly Tennis Live, all part of the Bet Rivers Network. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the tennis. Have a good one, everybody.